On today's Smart Robots Review, in the heart of most electronic devices in your home today, from appliances to robots, toys, you might be able to find an electronics miracle board like this one, driving the whole thing. This is an Arduino Uno style electronics board with a microcontroller. And today, I'm going to give you the 101 on this board, what each component does, what this board looks like. Stay with me, and let's do this.
Welcome to Smart Robots Review.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Smart Robots Review, the show that reviews robotics and other fantastic tech from around the world. I'm your host Elias, and it's great to have you here as always. Today we're going to be talking about the Arduino Uno style boards. I'm going to give you the one-on-one of the components and what this device really does. But first, a message from our first official show sponsor. This video is sponsored by JLC PCB, where you can prototype and order professional high-precision PCBs online from only $2. JLC PCB boards are widely applied to aerospace, industry, smart robot, medical device fields, and also do-it-yourself projects for engineers, makers, and hobbyists. So check them out below, jlcpcb.com, $2 for 10 PCBs. This is a great company, and thank you for sponsoring this video. Fantastic, so welcome back, and this is the star of today's show, an Arduino Uno style board. Many of you may have never seen this before, you don't know what this is, so this is the perfect show for you because I'm going to be going over all the different components and what this board really does, and you have already seen it in the Smart Robot car we have built on this show, and we're going to continue developing, also in some of the other robots we have reviewed, but it's not just used for robotics. You can find it in appliances, electronics in your home today may contain this style of board already. And what is it? Well, let's get started because I have it broken down per component and hopefully it will make sense to everybody. So this is what an Arduino board looks like. The name Arduino comes from the parent company that created it, which started back in 2003. The purpose of the board is to provide an efficient and cheap way for hobbyists, engineers to create devices like robots, like thermostats, motion detectors, other electronic devices that may be in your home today. Think of it as a mini computer board. It has a microchip almost in the middle, that is that long microchip there. And just like your computer, it has a lot of inputs and outputs and ways of connecting cables and other components and devices that would complete your project. Most importantly about Arduino is that it is open source. And if you're not familiar with that term, it means that open source allows other companies to create duplicate or cloned versions of this product. It allows hobbyists and engineers to contribute to the code. They have access to the schematics. It is available to the masses for future development. Now, when other companies create their own versions of Arduino boards, those might look a little different. The PCB, the background of this, might be black, might be green, might be red, different colors. Also, the name might be different. But most importantly, the guts of this device is almost identical to the original Arduino Uno. And this is what you're seeing here. This is the most popular board in existence today from the Arduino line. It's called Arduino Uno. Now, the Arduino board I was using was made by a different manufacturer, and that's very common. You have all these manufacturers making their own boards, and they'll work identical to this board, so it's safe for you to make a decision as to which one you want to select. It usually depends on the level of quality and also price. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at each of the components that makes up an Arduino Uno board. So why not start with the microcontroller? That is the brain of the whole operation. The processor, just like in your computer, you have a CPU. This board has a microcontroller, which in fact is called an AT Mega 328P. And all you need to know about that is that this is the model name of this microchip, this microcontroller, the schematics of which are available everywhere. This is a very common, a very efficient, very powerful microcontroller chip that is installed at the heart of this Arduino Uno board. The board is also equipped with a USB port. Now you can use this to connect it to your computer and upload your code. The port also provides power to the board, so you don't have to worry about powering it using a battery or the USB adapter. And since I'm jumping ahead, let's go ahead and talk about the power jack. And there's nothing groundbreaking here. This is just a plain power port for you to connect your AC adapter and provide power to the board. Now, the only thing I would add is that there are plenty of power adapters out there. Make sure the one you select is Arduino Uno compatible or designed for these boards. And when you do apply power to your Arduino Uno board, you're going to see an LED that is labeled on, turn on, which is a great way to troubleshoot your board that you are getting power to the board, and it is on. Other LEDs include one labeled L, one labeled TX, and one labeled RX. Now, the L LED can be controlled using your code. If you program the LED to turn on or blink, you can do that using your code, and we're going to talk about that in a future episode. Very importantly, the TX and RX LEDs will blink or flash really fast when the board is receiving or sending signals to the different sensors, components, or even when you download code to the board. This is a very useful troubleshooting tool, and it tells you that yes, my board is receiving or sending signals as it's supposed to. And what am I missing? Oh yeah, TX stands for transmit and RX stands for receive. So here we have the reset button. This is a plain old little red reset button, and when you press it, it's going to restart your Arduino Uno board. Don't worry, it will not erase anything on the board. It will not harm your board. This is a button you want to use when things are just not going well with your project. So it's there for convenience and one way to restart the board. When you're looking at an Arduino Uno board, you can't miss the series of pinholes located on each of the long sides of the board. These are called header pins or pins, and they allow for the connection of different sensors, components, parts of your electronics project using jumper wires. And notice how each pin is also labeled. That is going to come in very useful for us because we're going to talk about now the digital pins. And those are the pins labeled 0 through 13, a total 14 pins. And each one of those pins corresponds to a pin on the ATmega microcontroller. So in other words, if I'm going to connect using a jumper cable, a sensor or a component, some kind of servo to one of the pins, let's say pin 3, it would be as if I was connecting that component directly to the microcontroller, only it would be a more efficient and easier way. You can take the jumper cable and plug it in and out of that pinhole really easy without making a messy or permanent connection, which is great. This is part of the ingenious part of this Arduino Uno board. You have easy access and experimentation accessibility of the microcontroller. And these pins specifically are called digital because they understand data in digital terms, ones and zeros. They can act as inputs and outputs to the microcontroller, giving you, for example, a reading of 1 if it detects a 5 volt connected to that pin, or a 0 if it detects a 0 volt connected to the pin. Don't worry if you're not getting everything now. We're going to be going over electric theory and how these pins really work using practical examples in future episodes. Now, in a way, the analog pins labeled A0 through A5, work in a similar way. If you connect a device, a sensor to those header pins, the microcontroller will be able to measure that voltage up to 5 volts and give you back that reading. Now, there's more that you can do with these pins, but I think that's sufficient for us to get a basic understanding of what they can do. And that can be reinforced with practical examples, which we are going to go over in future episodes. Located next to the analog pins, you have the voltage and ground pins and also a reset pin. And those pins, the voltage and ground pins, are used to provide power to your low consumption electronic components, and I'm talking about LEDs here, nothing major like a big motor. Now, I don't want to lose anybody here by getting too technical, but if you're asking me how much can I draw from these pins, well, it makes a difference on how you're powering this Arduino Uno board. if you're using the external power adapter, you can draw up to 900 milliamps from the 5-volt pin, and 400 milliamps if you're using the USB connector. The 3.3 output is only able to provide up to 150 milliamps. Now, all you need to know for you beginners out there is that these pins provide power for your low consumption electronic components. Nothing that's good enough for us to take us to the next step and learn more about the fine details. So there you have it, the Arduino Uno style board. Hopefully now you know more than you did before the beginning of the episode. Whether you're a professional roboticist to an amateur hobbyist or even somebody who's never seen or heard this before, I'd love to hear your feedback. So leave all your feedback and questions down below. I want to make this show informative and useful for everybody, educational, and I'd love to hear your feedback and opinions. Also, today is one of many future episodes we're going to be building on the knowledge of this Arduino Uno style board. We're going to continue developing our smart robot car, and we're going to be having more beginner future lessons on programming, on sample projects that you can do and experiment with, and it's going to be all a lot of fun. Also, don't forget to check out jlcpcb.com, because for $2 you can prototype and order your very own PCBs at home. They're a great company, and thank you for sponsoring this video. By the way, they are not related to this board, so my opinions are always unbiased, as always have been. And if you can, check out the Amazon links down below. There are links to usually the products I am talking about, and every little bit helps. If you decide to buy something from that link, from what I'm talking about to a toothbrush, every little bit helps to sponsor this show and provide me with the funds necessary to purchase these products, because sometimes a vendor will send me a robot or the device I'm talking about, and other times I have to go out there and get them myself, and that can get pretty costly, as you can imagine. So thank you so much for helping out the show and myself to continue making videos like this. And until next time, thank you for watching Smart Robots Review.